fruit, but nonetheless, yeah. Today's video is for all you guys that want to get into the ant keeping hobby. Now you see, maybe you saw like Ants Canada's videos or some other ant keepers, and you thought, hey, I want to get into this hobby, it seems like really fun. Now you see, and getting into the hobby is a lot easier than you expect. Like, you don't need a ant formicarium straight off the bat, because you can just keep a colony in a test tube or something that functions as a test tube until it has like 20 workers. So you don't even need a formicarium to start off. All you need is just a few items, though. I mean, you want some things before you start ant keeping. Now, first thing first, you're going to want a snapcat vial, and that's basically any vial which can be used to house a queen ant for like 2 hours. It doesn't even need to have holes in the top, although mine, I made like a kind of fancy one out of 2 pill bottles. But nonetheless, yeah, you don't even need a super fancy snapcat vial, just like anything that you can hold a queen ant in for a few hours. But after you hold her in a snapcat vial, you're going to eventually need to get her into a test tube. And that, in a test tube, it doesn't need to be glass. It just needs to like have one open end and one closed end and be somewhere between 10 millimeters in diameter and like 20 millimeters in diameter. And as long as it's like between those two sizes, it should be good for queens. I mean, I'd suggest like going on the smaller side for smaller queens and on the bigger side for bigger queens. But nonetheless, yeah. So you will only need a snapcat vial and a test tube. 2 test tubes, preferably, because you're going to want to like move them from one test tube to another when you move them to a new enclosure. If you can't find test tubes, I suggest just asking your science teacher for 2 or 3 test tubes. You're going to want 2 or 3 because you want to transfer your queens from one test tube to another, so you'll want to have one more test tube than you have queens. So yeah, that's what you're going to want, some test tubes as well as a snapcat vial. Now, after you get the test tubes, you're going to want to build your queen a test tube setup. And for that, you are going to need either some test cotton or cotton rounds. So you're going to either need like cotton balls or cotton rounds. So let's show those. These are cotton rounds. I prefer them to cotton balls because the cotton inside of them is a lot like closer woven, so it holds in water better, and it's less likely that the cotton's going to pop and kill your queens. So yeah. Get cotton balls or cotton rounds as well. Now, after you get those, you're going to want a source of distilled water. Now, you see, this is a pretty... You can get this from bottled water, or you can get it from, like, a reverse osmosis machine, which is, like, $2,000. I suggest just going with the bottled water, because queens don't actually need that much water. But, yeah, if you use tap water, it might make your queen sick, because the chlorine might make your queen sick. So, I suggest just using bottled water to be on the safe side. But after you get bottled water and cotton, what you're going to want to get for your queens is either honey or dandelion honey. Now you see, this is real honey. My Uncle Paul breeds bees, but real honey can be kind of expensive, and your parents might not want you wasting honey on your queen ants. So my suggestion is if you really can't get your hands on any real honey, my suggestion is to make dandelion honey. And you can do that by like making dandelion tea by collecting a bunch of dandelions from your yard and boiling them in boiling water. Or you can also make dandelion tea and then you add sugar to it while the dandelion tea boils down, and then you get like a substance that the ants love, and it's very similar to this. But nonetheless, yeah, you can either get honey or dandelion honey for your queen ants. The next thing that you're going to want is barbecue skewers or chopsticks. Now, pick these things up at your local Chinese like shop or whatever, your Chinese food shop, and yeah, you can get plenty of chopsticks. Just grab like 4 or 5 on the way out from your next Chinese food day out. So yeah, just get chopsticks. Also, the chopsticks are very useful for removing cotton from the test tubes after you're done using the test tubes if you break off the end, and they can also be useful for giving honey to your colonies. Although, for smaller colony, I would suggest using toothpicks, which is the next item on the list. Now, you see, I've only got like 1 toothpick left, but like, yeah, you can use toothpicks for giving your queens honey as well, and it works a lot better for smaller colonies and smaller queens. Although you don't really need to give honey to your queens, I suggest doing it because to some extent, just a little bit of honey at the very beginning, because it can make your queens healthier and stuff. So yeah, chopsticks is the next item. After you get chopsticks, another thing that you should get is ear picks, you know, those like things with the cotton at the end. And the reason you're gonna want ear picks is because, or whatever they're called, is because you can use them for cleaning dead bugs and nasty stuff out of the colony's test tube. But you don't really need ear picks. You can just use toilet paper. Toilet paper is fine. Yeah. And the final thing that I would suggest for keeping young colonies is, well, I actually can't think of anything else at the moment. So, like, yeah, this is like all the stuff that I really use on a regular basis for my queen ants. Oh yeah, I remember now. The last thing that you'd want is tweezers, because you can use tweezers for your queen ants. I don't really have tweezers in the shop right now. I lost my tweezers, so I'm just using my hands with the insects. But if you're squeamish around insects, just get your hands on some tweezers, please. Like, tweezers can work very well. Oh, there's the ear pick. But tweezers can work very well for, yeah, keeping queen ants, because you might want some tweezers to, like, pick up the dead bugs that you're feeding your queens. You don't really need to buy a feeder insect colony, until your colony gets a bit bigger. You can just catch insects outside and feed your colony those until, like, it gets too much for you, and then I suggest buying a feeder insect colony, but only then. So yeah, let's go through everything you need. You need, a snapcat vial, at least 2 test tubes, cotton, distilled water, barbecue skewers, toothpicks, toilet paper, or ear wicks, and finally honey. So yeah, that's all the things that you really need to keep queen ants, and hope you enjoyed, and see you in the next video.